Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome to a truly special online event today. It's called Find Your Truth Behind the Masks You Wear. Heal your conditioning and reveal the medicine of your authenticity. My name is Stephen Dunham, the founder and president of the Shift Network, and I'm really delighted to be with you here and learning from a really fascinating pioneer in the world of consciousness. His name is Dr. Michael Ryoshin Sapiro. He's a clinical psychologist and a fellow at the Institute of Noetic Sciences. Bridges a lot of different domains. So we're going to hear about a methodology that leads us in the direction of future making, which I think is really interesting. And if you're excited by what he shares today, we have a brand new course with him coming up called Truth Medicine: Transcend Your Outdated Conditioning to Reclaim Your Authenticity and Future Making Power. So more to come if you like what you hear from Dr. Mike. So Dr. Mike, thanks so much for joining.
Oh, it's an honor. I'm very excited to be here with you. I've loved the Shift Network and all that you do.
Awesome. Well, I'd love to, you sound like you have a fascinating backstory, and I'd love to have you share a little bit about that journey and what brought you to this work of truth medicine, future making, and kind of seeing how to integrate different strands of transformation and really a path of liberation.
So I think there's four pillars of my life, and it's suffering, service, science, and spirituality. And all of those things happened really young for me. I'm a third generation Holocaust survivor. So my grandparents were in the Holocaust in Auschwitz, and that really came home with them, as you could imagine. And it came through my mom into the household. And so I grew up with like a really heavy dose of PTSD in the household. And at the same time, I also saw the resiliency and strength of my family. So at a very early age, trauma for me became both a source of pain, but a source of strength. And I think I used that throughout my life as I was in service of so many populations. And I've served foster care kids, people who are homeless. I've served in prisons. I've worked with combat veterans, special operations vets, and first responders. So every one of these, and community members, of course, too. Every one of these groups really showed a deep pain at life, at their wounds, but they also showed an incredible resiliency. And I often learned that we just kind of get stuck in the wounds and stuck in the pain. And so I wanted to look forward in my life. So what I did is I kind of got out of my own suffering. I started studying Buddhism very young at 18. And by 23 and 24, I was living in a monastery in Oregon and really deeply studying Buddhism and yogic philosophy. And then I went to the Peace Corps in Thailand and became a monk there. And that was part of my service. So I was able to really learn the customs and traditions of a place that was steeped in Buddhist thinking, Buddhist ways of being. And that really, really influences the way that I serve people. So Buddhism as a way of being, as a way of serving, as a way of tending to ourselves. So my life has really been about serving as many people as I can to awaken their hearts, to move forward in their life. And I think I did that personally, like I said, through Buddhism, but also through psychedelic medicine. I did that quite early in my life too, and had really mystical experiences as early as 15 that I've been integrating throughout my life. And that led me toward the science of consciousness, where I started working at Institute of Noetic Sciences. I really wanted to understand the science of our mind, of our perception, altered states of consciousness, skills like telepathy, clairvoyance, precognition. This is all a fascinating part of our potential as human beings. So I became interested in integrating that in the work I do as well. So it's a real mix of suffering, spirituality, service, and science. And honestly, my work's kind of in the integration of all of that.
And all tied together with alliteration, all S's. So
I know.
I love your background, and I love that you've gone from the really frontline work with trauma all the way to the deeper sciences and psychedelic medicine. It's a really great foundation to draw from. And so, I want to ask about a little bit about the understanding that evolved for you. I understand you have a term patchwork persona, which I like, and I wanted to share a little bit about how you see the self and what we're working to do to transform into a new possibility.
So many people coming to me in therapy for ketamine treatment or to my retreats often say, I feel depressed. I don't like how I feel. And when we follow that thread, when I'm asking deeper questions, I'm often hearing people say, I don't feel like I'm living a life that was meant for me. I feel like I'm living someone else's life. I might not, they might say, I'm not even comfortable in my own body, in my own skin. And when I keep pulling the threads, what I discovered was that people were living up to their parents or their culture's expectations of them, or the conditioning and habits and patterns of their family or the society around them. They've internalized it and they're living a life that's based in other people's values. And so they're coming to me really misaligned with who they want to be and how they want to be. And in terms of the patchwork persona, what I discovered was that people were coming with these ideas of themselves. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. Maybe a patch was like, I'm super smart and I can't fail. And so every message that my clients and that me and possibly everyone listening received as a child about ourselves became like a patch we wear. And all of a sudden, we're covered in these patches of other people's beliefs of us or ideas of us. And now we're living in this persona, a patchwork persona, as I call it, and we're saying and thinking and behaving in ways that are totally misaligned with our own unique heart, like our authentic values that are just ours, that are unique to us. So we're not in alignment. We're actually a persona of so many other ideals that are not ours. And so once I started seeing that, we could correct for that. We could actually identify, oh, these patches are not mine. I don't want these beliefs. I don't want these values. Maybe some you keep, many we don't keep. And then we start listening to our own hearts and moving forward in that direction. So the patchwork persona is really identifying what doesn't belong in my life, what ideas, what behaviors, what thoughts, and then really choosing from your own heart what does.
Hmm. I like that metaphor. It kind of evokes the image of a patchwork quilt. And so each little section of the quilt has got different images, but it's like it's all being sourced from elsewhere rather than our authenticity.
Yes.
So much of Buddhist practice really focuses on the disidentification with these different parts of ourselves, but you also do a lot of like deep healing work. So how do you see that balance between the sort of like, this is not me, but also going in and saying, yes, this is me, and I want to kind of claim it in a different way and honor it?
Yeah. So what is me? Is it our beliefs? Is it our behaviors? And in Buddhism, we have the concept of non-self, which really means interdependent self, a self that doesn't exist independent of anything else. But there certainly is a personality in us. We have temperaments, we have likes and dislikes and preferences, and these things are unique to us that are relatively real, that we can work with. And we also have parts in us that need to be nurtured and tended to, and parts of us flood us and speak for us when we don't want them to. But in our essence, Buddhism points toward what is whole and unbroken, a pure essence. In Zen, they say what your face looked like before you were born, this quality of innocence that resides deep underneath the conditioning, underneath preferences. So the Buddhist practice really leads us to touching that ineffable, pure, innocent being that we always were, that these conditions and these parts really obscure or distract from. So there's a lot going on in this work. We're identifying a lot of these pieces, but also resting in that kind of purity of our essence, which is unstained or unblemished by any experience or any persona or any conditioning.
Hmm. How do you discern which parts of the patchwork you're wanting to really include and integrate and bring into wholeness and versus the ones you're really just focusing on letting them drop away?
Yeah, I can give a personal example. My father taught me a lot about service, the benefit of service, of giving to others. But he also conditioned it. He paired it with, if you're not doing it, you're sinful. And
Ah,
so that's a really good, clean example of, for many years, if I wasn't working really, really hard and giving myself away, I felt I was ashamed. I was embarrassed. I felt like I was sinning in some way.
Hmm.
And when I started doing this work, I recognized I want to keep the value of service that I learned. That's an important piece for my life, and I value it still. But I separated it. I unpaired it from the patch he put on me. Hey, if you're not doing, you're selfish if you're asking for money. Or if you're not giving of yourself when you're tired, you're sinning. That's not helpful to me. I don't wear that anymore.
Hmm.
So it's really important. And only the person's going to know this when we're doing this work. Someone's going to identify, hey, I was told this, and this doesn't feel right for who I am. And then we're going to work on what is it like to look at it and let it go. Let it be. It's not even there to begin with. It's an idea that we internalized. But that idea is only true because we believed it. We don't have to believe it.
Hmm. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So it's like the more meditative practice helps you be able to discern what are these parts, what are the patches, and then we're sort of sifting based upon our more mature perspective what we want to keep
Yes.
and grow. I wanted to ask you a little bit about love and unconditional love of those parts that we do want to keep, that we do want to grow and evolve. And because oftentimes the more Buddhist stance is just to be the neutral witness, but love is more invested in many ways in these different parts. So you want to share a little bit about how you now approach the sort of the cultivation and loving growth of the different younger parts that you want to keep?
Yeah. And in my practice, we love everything,
Hmm.
all parts. There is nothing we throw out, even those patches that have hurt us, that have been put onto us, sometimes out of abuse or neglect, and sometimes just overt being treated poorly, or even being put on pedestals as children. That's a patch we have to live up to as well. But the stance is that we love everything unconditionally. There's no thing we want to dismiss or hate on. We don't have to accept everything in terms of like, I'm going to wear this forever. But we want to have a stance, which I believe the universe has a stance of loving kindness toward everything that arises. I don't believe the universe is inherently it's full of chaos and there's violence. But in the non-dual traditions that I do come from, the actual fabric of the universe tends to be loving. It feels peaceful and infinite and spacious. And when we get into those really quiet moments where we're just being, we often report we feel a sense of love. And it might not be human to human love. It might be a much more cosmic or mystical sense of love. And so we're really touching and tapping into that and infusing that into everything we're doing. We're going back in time and bringing unconditional love to our wounded selves. We're going forward in time and we're meeting our future self with unconditional love, just as our future self meets us with that way. Doesn't mean we don't have things to change and get better at. It just means we have a stance that love is a powerful medicine and that we want to be using that medicine more often than not.
That's beautifully shared. I want to ask about pacing and a connection with nature. I know that's a foundation of your work as well.
As a monk, I have spent a lot of time, especially kind of the hermit monk I am. I've spent a lot of time on retreats, solitary retreats in nature. And I found that when I slow down to the pace of nature, everything's provided. It doesn't mean I like everything that's provided, but it means that the pace of nature is the pace that I feel most at peace in and that I feel most creative because my mind slows down, my senses open wide. And so a lot of my work is helping people slow down to the pace of nature where they can start hearing the resounding truths that live within inside themselves, which often takes slowing down in stillness. And so I'm often leading people to slowing down in stillness to touch those truths that need to be seen and stated and lived. And meditation is one way in which we do that. But really, most of my patients have the homework assignment of going and spending time in nature and they journal there. Sometimes they emote and cry there and they're held by the scene, by the water, by trees, by falling leaves. And so much of Zen is really mirroring nature itself.
Hmm.
And
I
so
love
that comes into the work.
I love that. I wanted to also get a little sense in terms of the foundations of how you're approaching transformation is this notion of future making. I like the sort of seems to build off the patchwork that we're sort of redesigning the patchwork into some more holistic image of ourselves. But let me share a little bit about future making as a core practice.
So much of therapy that I've seen over the years is we're looking backward, and we're doing a lot of work on the traumas and our history. And so many people that I engage with, I visualize it this way: they're moving forward in their life, but they're looking backward. So people are moving forward in their life, walking backwards. They're always looking back. Yes, of course, we worry about our future, but most of us are really constructing our lives based on what we've already been through. What I wanted to do in my work is turn people around. Yes, it's important where we've come from, and it's very important what our lineages come from too, because it shows up in us. But what I really want most for people is moving forward and looking ahead. And instead of saying what I don't want, I want them to start saying what I do want. Because when you come to my office and you're like, I don't want to feel this way, that way, and this way. And I'm like, well, what do you want? And they're like, well, I don't know. I've never thought about it. I'm like, well, how are you going to get there? Where are you going? It's like being lost at sea without a beacon or without knowing where your destination is. So I started moving from let's look backward, which we have to do sometimes, to moving forward. And that's what future making is about. In one way, it's about us creating and designing through imagination, through fantasy, daydream, what we want. In another way, it's actually being completely open to the mystery, to the unknown, and understand there are so many possibilities beyond your own imagination. What if we could tap into a future that's already happening? What if, what if the future comes to us through precognition, presentiment, visions? I've had visions of things that were to come, and that led me down that path, visions I had never imagined for myself. And so we're future making is not just about what we want to create, like our heart's dream. It's also about being open to the infinite possibilities and meeting some of those possibilities and having a relationship with that future so the future can tell us, here's how you get there.
Hmm.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, I can definitely see you bringing in some of the threads from the Institute of Noetic Sciences, and I was always struck by Dean Radin's, assessment that actually it's not more difficult to remote view the future than to remote view the present. That you're actually that on some way that we're actually net our time is nested within the now in a way that is a little mysterious.
Yes.
How are you seeing that right now after all the more science side of the studies?
I stay with the beautiful mystery.
Hmm.
I've learned a lot from Dean personally as a friend and as a colleague, and he has opened my mind to possibilities like what you just said. I'm still a skeptic. He told me that 15 years ago. I'm like, come on, Dean. And here I am. It's a chapter in my book, in my next books on future making. And I work closely with Julia Mossbridge, who also does time travel work and AI work, and she's so brilliant. And I learned from her that the future shows up in the present moment if we're paying attention to its signs. And those with precognition tend to have information from the future. And so, yes, I'm still slightly skeptical, but I'm doing this work and I see it, and my clients are benefiting because they're seeing futures they could not have imagined, and they're actually moving in those directions. So their life now pivots to something they couldn't even have imagined before. That is a beautiful evolution of our consciousness.
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because it becomes less about like I'm going to make this future happen, and it's more like that future is already pre-exists, and we're just aligning with it in a way.
Yes. And we become embodied. So the next step is once we see our future self, we take the qualities, patience, kindness, empowerment, confidence. Let's say we see our future self doing the thing she and he always wanted to do. And then we take it into our bodies in the present moment and we pretend or we act or we embody and we start feeling what it would be like to be that version of ourselves. And then we can move toward it. A lot more if it's just an idea, we want to embody it. We want to feel that confidence, strength, kindness, whatever your future self is doing. And so I'm teaching that as well. How do you not only see it, but start to embody it in the present? Because then you're more than likely creating the conditions that it's going to happen.
Hmm. That's really interesting. So you're sort of really tapping into the deeper levels of the felt sense of what your future self is embodying, and then bridging that back to the now, which
Yeah.
helps bring that future into reality as well. So that's very
Yes.
interesting. The whole causation, what's causing what, it gets very confusing in some of this work.
Totally. And it doesn't matter. What matters is, do you want to do this? Do you want to feel this way? Were you waiting for empowerment? Well, can you try it on now? And then you're going to become that way if you're practicing it now. But what if the future is the one that starts you off on it?
Mhm.
Doesn't matter.
Well, I know there's a whole other segment on truth medicine I want to get to. But before we get to that, I want to share. I would invite you to share a little practice that you've developed for us around a future making exercise, so we can start to see how this activates in our life and consciousness to bring it forward now.
I would love to do that. And just for the audience, this is just a basic one. We're going to do a short one. The real practices are a little bit longer than this, but this is a nice one to get in touch with. Okay. Well, I invite all of you, if you're willing, to get into a position that's comfortable and flexible without being rigid, but firm. And as we say, drop into the body, bring your mind's attention inward into the body, and become aware of the body's position and posture, the shape and outline of the body. If you need to make any movements to become more comfortable, please do so. Keep your mind's attention on the body. And let's begin by breathing in softly and gently through the nose. Breathing in through the nose, throat, lungs, and into the belly. Rest your mind on the body breathing. Feel the body expand on the inhale and feel the body rest on the exhale. Bring your mind's attention to the body breathing. Slow, gentle waves of the breath. If your mind wanders, gently guide its attention back into the body. And as your body breathes, feel the sensations of the body. Open your awareness to the sensations of the body, the shimmering and shaking, the tingling. Feel the skin, the tingling of the skin, where the air touches the skin. Feel the temperature and density of the air around the body. Be aware of the whole body, the breath and sensations. And now bring your attention up behind the eyes to that infinite space of imagination. And in this space of imagination, we're going to go backward in time for just a few moments. Choose a time in your near history, just a few weeks ago or in the last month, where you were struggling with something, a conversation that was difficult, a sickness or injury, a time you were struggling, and picture yourself. Imagine you at this time going back to that self and sitting next to yourself. Picture yourself sitting next to your older self from a few weeks ago. And put a gentle hand on your shoulder or hold yourself. Show yourself some care. And even whisper words of wisdom. Let yourself know how you've gotten through that. Offer your self-care. And in a loving, kind way, say goodbye to your past self, looking in the eyes if needed. And return your attention here to the present moment, sitting, breathing. And now, in the space of your imagination, imagine a time in the future where you're doing something you've always wanted to do. There's no boundaries to this vision. Picture yourself in the future doing something you've always wanted to do. And see yourself engaging in that. Notice where you are, what you're wearing, and who you're with, if anyone. Notice how you seem to be doing that. And imagine your future self turning to you. And they give you words of encouragement. Your future self tells you how you get there. If you have any questions, ask your future self, how did I do it? What help do I need? What do I have to let go of? And listen. So thank your future self for showing him or herself, if they did. Say goodbye in any way that feels right. And let your future self return to what they're doing. And bring your attention back here to the body, the present moment. And just rest. Feel your body's response. What you feel, what you sense. Take a deep, slow breath in to this experience. A gentle exhale. And without losing this embodied presence, gently open the eyes And thank you for going along with me.
Hmm. Thank you. I
Mm-hmm.
like that exercise in meditation.
Mm-hmm.
How do you find that you keep strengthening that connection between the future self and present self and ongoing?
I would record this for my clients and they will do this daily. And I've heard from them and something I know personally that the image gets stronger, the relationship gets stronger. You'll hear more wisdom the more you do this. And also, the vision can change. You can see many new opportunities. It's not like we're just trying to choose one and we go for it. It's we're strengthening our ability to see,
Hmm.
imagine, and then to relate. And that can look differently every single time, but we're strengthening our this ability, active imagination, and also the possibilities can be so it can be big and overwhelming, but it can also be validating that, oh, I can actually do these things. There are some things I can move myself toward. And so it takes practice. And this is a part of the practice of future making.
Hmm. I like that. And yeah, it's really clear. It just kind of frees up just orienting in that direction, it frees up from some of the limitations that get baked in from our past or a sense of like, oh, we're just going to keep repeating the same patterns.
Yeah, because if we don't do anything different, our future is going to usually end up looking like the past because we're using patterns and habits and conditioning that are laying the foundation, the pathway from behind us forward. And that's not what we're doing here. We're recognizing our past and we're untethering from it as much as we can. We'll notice when it shows up, but we're using different muscles, different skills, different abilities like intuition and wisdom and future making skills to create a new path to what was unimaginable in the past.
Hmm. I know you're steeped in science as well. Like, is there anything you want to share about just like the neurobiology of this or understanding how we're literally rewiring pathways in our brain when we do this?
Yeah, it's really outside the scope of my work. So I tend to trip over myself when I'm talking about biology.
Okay.
I've learned to go, it's a great mystery. And there's so
Okay. That's great. Well, let's transition to talking a little bit about truth medicine, which I love as just sort of a framing of things of truth medicine. So, what brought you to really dedicating a good chunk of your work to truth medicine, and how does that sort of unfold in a deeper way?
I found, especially in ketamine treatment, um, I've done hundreds and hundreds of sessions in clinics. And my book is about a lot of what I've discovered watching hundreds and hundreds of people go through this process. That when people discover or speak and start to live their truths, is when the healing and growth simultaneously happens. So, in all the work I've done as a therapist and psychedelic psychotherapist, the most profound shifts I saw were when people really started speaking their truth in session. I didn't like that. I didn't like how that happened. It wasn't my fault. I was innocent. I shouldn't have been treated that way. People, it's so surprising how we don't know that. We blame ourselves for what happens to us most of the time. And when people start discovering their truth and speaking it, there is liberation and confidence, empowerment. And also, I don't like the job I'm doing. I want to do something different is an amazing place to move from rather than I'm stuck here. I don't have a choice. I don't like what I'm doing, but it's what I got to do. And sometimes it's true. You can't always move, you change your job, but the ability to speak your truth frees us because now we have choices. We have a choice. What do we want to do now? If this is true for me, if I stay in this, I'm hurting myself and now I can't deny it anymore. Or I really want to go toward what's alive for me. So that's also so gives us choices. It really does free us up. Truth rings like a bell. It's very freeing to hear it.
Hmm. And do you want to share the three simple truths that discover while speaking and discover
Oh,
why speaking and living your truth is essential to genuine well-being and inner freedom?
yeah. So in the beginning of my book, before the book even starts, I say, if you really feel these three truths out, you don't need to do psychedelic psychotherapy. You don't need to do therapy is always helpful, but I've seen over decades of work that people who love themselves and accept themselves unconditionally. That doesn't mean we don't make changes. We don't prefer, oh, I'm drinking a lot. You don't accept that you're drinking a lot in that way, but I accept myself regardless if I'm drinking too much. I love myself regardless. When we start loving ourselves unconditionally and accepting ourselves fully,
Hmm.
we naturally start taking better care of ourselves.
Hmm.
Because if you love yourself unconditionally as a way of being, you're less likely to do harmful things to yourself. You're more likely to support yourself. Because if you love yourself, you're not going to want to overdose. You're not going to want to overspend. You're not going to want to have habits that hurt you. So, loving and accepting yourself is a simple, not easy truth that naturally leads to better behaviors.
Hmm.
That's, I mean, I think it's true. I think I've seen it enough and I know, yeah. So these are simple truths up front. The second one is living and speaking a life uh, that living and speaking your truth leads to authenticity. And a life of authenticity, for the most part, leads to thriving because you're living the life you are choosing, the living your life you're meant to be living, not the one that was told to you or determined for you by others. And so I found the second simple truth is authenticity leads to a life of thriving. It's a vibrant life, and it's the life you're meant to live. And the third truth is about our bodies and wisdom, that our bodies have the wisdom we need to make hard decisions, to make really any choices in our life if we slow down and we really pay attention to the vibrancy of our body when we're making a choice. The innate wisdom of our body will speak to you. And so, one truth I've discovered, and it's very simple but not easy, is having a healthy relationship to your body gives you access to profound wisdom that helps you make really good choices in your life.
Hmm.
That was the third truth I saw.
Yeah, well, that bridges nicely into the whole integration and embodiment piece, which I know is so at the forefront of the psychedelic medicine field. And just in general, we've recognized that the peak experiences need to be translated into lasting change through integration and embodiment. And so maybe share a little bit about what you've seen is effective in this combination of future making and truth medicine.
Yeah. So, for sure, in any deep altered state of consciousness, whether it's drumming or dancing, singing, making love, psychedelics, or meditation, when we have an experience that is profound, impacts us, changes our perception, or expands our consciousness, it doesn't just stay like that. Our brain will naturally go back to old patterns and habits, even though we've touched something new. It's very rare that we have an experience that transforms us forever. If that happens, it's usually near death experiences or divorces or, those are lower compared to we have these big experiences but don't know what to do with them. Integration of these new worldviews, new perspectives, new experiences is essential for creating long-term sustained changes. So we take everything we've learned on our journey or in meditation or in our drumming circle where we've had this profound awakening, and now we start making daily practices. We have to commit to doing one or two things differently every day for months, if not years, to really integrate that learning into new behaviors. And also, you don't just embody the thing, you have to practice embodying the thing you want. So, integration, embodiment go hand in hand. Embodiment is the sense, the feeling in the body of this quality. And integration are the practices. It's conscious, intentional practices to bring the wisdom you've gained into your daily life.
Mhm. Well, I'd love for you to speak a little bit about what happens as a result of doing all this and, embodying the truth behind the sort of patchwork persona and really finding your deeper authentic self. Just what do you see in terms of I think we call it the medicine of your authenticity?
People, I've seen so much change. Like the reason I'm teaching this is it's not just an idea I had. And first of all, I've practiced this. I have visioned my life. I've gotten visions. I've received visions. And I've played with this future making for many years. And things happen that you could never predict, you could never assume would happen for you. So there's a joy and there's a sense of awe you get with life where instead of being stuck in the habits and patterns and really feeling stuck in a life that's not aligned with who you are. So for myself and for so many of the clients, they've changed jobs. And I know that doesn't sound like a big deal, like, oh, we can all change jobs. But when you move to a calling, when you move from a job to something that is now an actual authentic calling, something that has been deep within you, you didn't listen to or you denied, I see people changing, making small and sometimes very big changes toward what's more real for them. And of course, if you can imagine doing that, depression levels subside, so you're feeling a better sense of purpose and meaning in your life. You're more than likely to be less anxious about your future because you have more trust and faith because you're building that as you go. And the best thing I've seen is the empowerment and confidence in my clients who are using future making abilities, taking off their patches and being themselves. A really strong sense of confidence in who they are to set boundaries, to say what's good for them, and to say what's not good for them. Too
Mm,
many of us have been just kind of like done things to, and now we have a voice. Now we have a voice in saying, no, that's not okay for me. This is what's okay for me.
mm.
That's huge. That's huge.
That's huge. Well, Dr. Mike, it's really great to see how you've integrated all these different threads into a really coherent approach to transformation that really sort of draws from the future, our truth, our authenticity, and it builds a new identity that's very authentically aligned.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your upcoming course, which is a great way to put this into practice. And so Dr. Mike has created a brand new course for Shift. It's called Truth Medicine. Transcend your outdated conditioning to reclaim your authenticity and future making power. You can find it at the URL repatternyourfuture.com, repatternyourfuture.com. This is a 7-week program. There are no prerequisites. And Dr. Mike, I'd love for you to share some of your intentions for what people will come away with.
I think the first intention is we create a community together to do this work. And it's important that we are cohesive as a group. We're all doing this together. So it really will feel like a sangha or satsang where we're gathering to do a kind of journey together, non-medicine journey. And the intention for each of you who are considering doing this is that you slow down to hear your heart's desires for yourself. And you also strengthen your ability to imagine a future that was unimaginable in the past so that we can help you go toward that future, a future you're actually longing for, not one that is just predetermined by where you've come from. So I think the biggest intention is help you thrive. I want to help each person who comes to this course be authentic, who they are meant to be, and thrive.
So, module one is then the beginning of this journey. It's called Setting the Foundation for Change and Awakening the Next You.
Mhm. Yeah, this module is an introduction to all the concepts that we just kind of talked about: patchwork persona, 3 steps to authenticity, future making, integration, the ecosystem of change. I'm going to introduce all of these different kind of models that I've been using in my work. And we're going to then create a community-based feeling between our group so that we know we can rely on each other as we're moving through this kind of 7-week journey.
Module two, Uncovering Inherited Patterns and Habits that Block Authenticity.
This is like going into the dark part of the forest. It's not super comfortable. We're going to be looking at some of our limiting beliefs, but not only from our vantage point, we're going to be looking at limiting beliefs, but where they came from in our ancestry. So we're carrying forward a lot of limiting beliefs as well as strength and resiliencies. But we're going to use that second module to really kind of go into the stuff that's in our way of being authentic. We're going to look at the conditioning that's kind of covering up what really wants to shine.
Then we go into module three, Healing the Patchwork Persona and Reclaiming Wholeness.
This will be fun for the most part. We're going to do a patchwork persona exercise. We're actually going to draw huge bodies and we're going to look at our patches. We're going to look at the messages we've received, which ones we no longer want, which ones we're ready to let go of, some of the values we want to keep. The third module is really getting an understanding of what persona or personas have been active in our lives, and then what would it be like to let those go? What's there in its place?
Module 4, design your future through mental time travel.
So this is where we really start getting into what our practice was, future making. We're going to do some more elongated future making meditations. I'm also going to teach you some of the science of mental time travel, hope, and unconditional love. And we're going to go in both directions in that module to bring hope and unconditional love to our lives in the past and in the future. And we're really going to start learning how to future make.
Module 5, embracing mysticism to hear the cosmic wisdom of the psyche.
Like any journey, you're going to meet things that you couldn't have imagined. You, in the unconscious or subconscious, we see signs and symbols and shapes and metaphors. We also, in our practice, we meet the cosmos. In any journey, the cosmos shows up. And so we want to learn the language of our psyches and we want to learn the language of the cosmos because that is what is showing up to help us build the life we're longing for because we don't do this alone. Also, we want to slow ourselves down to the present moment where the mysticism is the present moment unfolding, always unfolding. And this is where we start hearing the longings of our own hearts. So we're going to do all of that in that session.
Module 6, how to build a sustainable inner ecosystem to integrate change.
So the sixth module, we're really focusing on integration. We've been through the dark forest. We've been deep into our psyches. We've gone out to the cosmos. We've got all this information. Now we have to know what do we do with it. So we're going to build an ecosystem of support. What people, communities, what practices do we want in place to help us integrate everything that we just went through in our last 6 weeks? And so that you have a model that you can leave with and practices in place to make sure you're starting to make the changes that you came to this course for.
And finally, Module 7, embodying the art of living deeply model.
So living deeply is a model that comes out of the Institute of Noetic Sciences that I've been trained in and teach. We are going to learn what it means to live deeply, to take all of our values and embody and enact them. We're going to see our future self. We're going to step into our future self and we're going to leave our course embodying the values and the qualities of our future self. And also, we'll have a final ceremony to say goodbye to our community.
Cool. What a great integration of so many different threads into one coherent path of transformation, Dr. Mike. So again, there's more detail at repatternyourfuture.com. If you choose to move forward, you're going to get the 7 90-minute live sessions with Dr. Mike that have just been described. There's includes time to do interactive practices, also ask your questions live. You also get recordings for every session, both video and audio, which are super helpful to go back and really pick up things you might have missed or redo practices in the future. There's word for word transcripts as well, weekly exercises for home. There's a community group to support you and deepen your experience, as well as small group time to connect with other participants live. On the page, you also see there are a number of extra bonuses Dr. Mike has added to this journey. It's the first is a PDF called the Patchwork Persona Truth Medicine Excerpt. We'll share a little bit about that PDF.
Yeah, that actually comes from my book. It's chapter 3. I wanted to give you all a chance to read that chapter, to really have a deeper sense of what the patchwork persona is and what underlies it, that essence of purity, that innocence we were talking about earlier. So that's a gift from me to each of you.
Hmm. So that's just one bonus. Then there's a second PDF that actually has the acronym ACORNS. Dr. Mike, you want to share a little bit about ACORNS?
Yeah, so many people ask me for help. How do I, in a situation of stress, show up differently? How do I make better choices when I'm stressed? And so I came up with this model, Acorns, which actually step by step helps you become self-aware, nurture yourself, have some compassion for what you're going through. It gives your mind a sense of calm so that you can discern and have clarity and choose wisely. So it's a model that I have created and shared with many of my clients to help them make decisions, skillful decisions during moments of stress.
That's a great extra bonus. And then there's one final bonus. There's a special bonus that folks get if you sign up by midnight tonight Pacific time. This is an audio recording with Dr. Mike called the Inner Awareness Meditation. I'm going to share a little bit more about that meditation.
Yeah, it's short and sweet. It's only a 12-minute meditation, but why it's so special is I made it for a group of first responders who are coming to me for dealing with trauma, PTSD, and their chaotic lives. And I built this specifically for people who have, stress in their lives. And I think it's comprehensive and integrative. Just like our future making, we really start with grounding and we build in emotional intelligence, emotional awareness, breath, sensation of the body. It's integrating all aspects of our beingness. And we end with just pure spacious awareness. So it's a gift I wanted to give each of you to practice daily until we meet each other in our class, because it's a gift of stillness and slowing down.
Hmm. Well, what a great, that's the test of things. If they can operate it well on the front lines with
Yes.
people who are facing some of the most difficult situations, then it's clearly going to be very beneficial for all of us. So that's the inner awareness meditation. So it's clearly going to be such a powerful program, really groundbreaking, synthesizing a lot of different streams of scientific to practical wisdom. We've kept the investment very accessible. It's just three payments of $128, so you can save 10% when you pay in full with one payment of $349. The course is going to start January 6th and run Tuesdays at 1 Pacific, 4 Eastern. But even if you can't make the live times, you can still get the full value with the recordings and the transcripts and the community as well. And on the page at repatternyourfuture.com, you'll also see there's some great testimonials about Dr. Mike from people like Richard Miller or Cassandra Veaton. There's a lot of experts out there who really are so blessed by the depth of the heartful presence, wisdom, and practical skills that Dr. Mike will teach. So you're in good hands and you will get a lot of benefit, I am quite sure. So, Dr. Mike, we're nearing the end of our time together. Anything you still want to share with folks who are considering doing your course with you?
Yeah, I think each of you is worth showing up for yourselves. And what I'd like to offer is a chance to do this in community, that you're worth showing up, you're worth putting time into yourself. This experience is going to be heartfelt. It's going to be one of bringing ourselves down to stillness and slowness to really get in touch with who you are so that you can choose what you want for yourself. And I'm here just to support you and to offer wisdom where I can, and honestly, to create a community that thrives together. So I hope to see all of you there. And thank you for showing up to this.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Mike, for your time and wisdom and the deep exploration you've been on. And thank you all for joining and look forward to seeing many of you in Dr. Mike's upcoming course. And again, it's all at repatternyourfuture.com. The title is Truth Medicine, Transcend Your Outdated Conditioning to Reclaim Your Authenticity and Future Making Power. And you will get that special bonus if you sign up by midnight tonight of the Inner Awareness Meditation. So thank you so much, Dr. Mike. Thank you all. Many blessings.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.